Hey everyone! Wow, it is beautiful tonight. Ah, look at this beautiful sunset happening behind me, and there is a storm coming. I can hear the thunder. You can probably hear the wind. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be interesting. It is so beautiful here. And I'm working on writing. The first thing that I am writing is about dissociation, and it's bringing up a lot of memories. And thankfully, I'm in a much better place to be able to handle these memories. But to go through and to recount probably what for me was the worst symptom of PTSD was the dissociation. It was the PTSD and the dissociation and the nightmares that were the worst. And with nightmares, at least like it's at night, you're laying in bed, you're like, no one's expecting you to do anything or be anywhere. But with dissociation, it was this like constant state that I was in, and I'm out in the world. I'm trying to like drive my car and do things and buy groceries, and I'm like, what? Where am I? Like, am I real? Things like that. And it was just so terrible, so awful. And so I'm writing, and it's hard because I mean, with dissociation, like, there's a lot that I don't remember. I'm gonna try to get out of the wind a little bit. There's a lot of things that I don't remember because that's sort of the nature of dissociation, that you're not present, that you're not, there, that you're not, your mind is not connecting. And so there's a lot of things that I simply don't have memories of, things that have a vague sense of them just sort of like happening. Like all of a sudden, I am doing something and I don't know how or why. Um, but yeah, for me, this was probably the worst symptom of PTSD. And it, it took a lot to get over it. I went through some psychological therapy. They were trying to teach me grounding skills, which, I mean, I don't know. Their effectiveness was limited, right? So their effectiveness was limited and the effects didn't last long. Like, my dissociation was really severe. Medications did absolutely nothing at all. And it wasn't until I went into EMDR treatment that I got any relief from the dissociation. Now, EMDR, it's this sort of weird new kind of psychological treatment that they don't really understand, but it works, and it works really well, and it worked really well for me. And what it is the therapist either has you listen to these alternating tones back and forth, or has something to so that you move your eyes back and forth. So there's this back and forth movement, and while you're doing either the back and forth sounds or the back and forth eyes, you are remembering the traumatic situation. And so the therapist will give you a certain amount of time to remember, then they'll ask you to talk about it, and then they'll go back and do this until you process the traumatic memory in a different way and come to some different understanding about it. Like before the session starts, you set a goal of, when I think about this memory, I feel powerless. And when I'm done with this treatment, I want to feel like I am able to leave the house. Something like that. And so you do the treatment until you get to a point where you're at your goal for the treatment. And sessions are, usually pretty short. I mean, I think I was in there for like an hour total, so it can go pretty quickly. But what's interesting about this, and the thing that psychology cannot understand, is why this alternating tones or this back and forth eye movement works. And it takes me back to the Vedic tradition. And one of the processes that my guru, Swamiji Paramahamsa Nityananda, does is using mandalas and using sound. And with mandalas, well, it's called the Shivoham process. And what it is, it's based on the Sri Chakra. The Sri Chakra is a mandala form that you've probably seen before. It's a series of triangles, different sizes of triangles, laid over each other in a particular pattern. It's a very common and popular symbol. And so the idea behind it is that the universe is made of lines and sound, that everything we experience, we see, and it's a series of lines, or we hear, and it's a series of sounds. And so when we have, whatever issues we have, it's because the lines and the sounds that are stored within us are not in alignment with, like, the universal lines or sounds, or the cosmic lines or sounds, or, whatever. That it's a problem with the lines and the sounds, that the very base material of our experience, what we have processed, and how we experience the world. And it's really, really deep. And he's not doing the Shivoham process like he used to do, like when he first started it, but it comes up in, the mandalas and in some of the other processes, and it is powerful. It is really, really powerful, and it really just resets you in ways I just cannot. I mean, it just resets your being on such a deep level to have your lines and your sounds reset and realigned in that way, being aligned to this, cosmic geometry. Yoga does that as well. Yoga asana helps you align to cosmic geometry. And so it's just such an interesting process. But also, when I, in my writings, it's a collection of things that I wrote while I was dissociating, along with memories of, that I have now of when I was dissociating. And one of the things that I wrote about was a workshop that he had, like a 2-day workshop on time. And I was, like, seriously having PTSD triggers at this workshop. It was bad. It was really bad. You can read about it in my book, which I will be publishing on Kindle at some point in time. Hopefully tonight. Maybe it's already up by the time I put this video up. But one of the things that he said about time was that we get stuck, our bodies get stuck in time, responding to events that have already passed. While, logically in our minds, we know that the time has passed and X, Y, and Z is not happening anymore. And that just so perfectly describes PTSD so well, where we are physiologically, our minds, our body chemistry, our brain chemistry are responding to events that happened and passed and are no longer happening, but we keep responding to them as if they are currently happening. But even though logically we know that, today is, May 2018, and time has passed, and I'm no longer, a 15-year-old girl. I am a 37, almost 37-year-old woman. But time has passed, and it's just, he's so perfectly described the experience of PTSD, of this being half stuck in and out of time, where part of you is still feeling like what happened is still happening, even though logically your mind, your brain knows that it has passed and it is a different time and a different place. And I don't even remember, he gave a remedy for it. And it was something that I felt like I couldn't do. I didn't really understand. I don't even remember it now. I don't suppose it matters. But, I was only able to receive healing for this when I went and lived at the Adinam and stayed there. And I am still healing. The healing is ongoing. If you are interested in healing, there are so many programs that are offered, no matter what you're healing from, whatever type of healing, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, whatever healing you want, transformative programs to give you a boost in life, check out the description. There are a lot of programs, some online, some residential. Inner Awakening is the big one for working on yourself for personal transformation. It is in the description. Click show more if you don't see it. If you have questions, comments, anything, get in touch. Leave a message, leave a comment, find me on social media. I am here for you. Okay. Nityanandam.